Welcome to Writer's Workshop. This week we are taking some big steps in the writing process. You will be taking your finished, completed web that includes all your questions that you have answered in your research about your animal. You're going to use your web to move to the next step, which is drafting using Google Docs. That is why I'm making you a video today. We will do this together, but we will also have the video on your Rainbow schedule so that when you're working at home, you can go back and watch and see how to use your Google Docs and start. You will be meeting 4 targets as you are drafting. You can ask and answer questions about important details in nonfiction books. You have been asking and answering questions for a couple weeks now. I can show that I know how to write sentences correctly. So you're going to be using your 5 editing checks as you are writing on your Google Docs, making complete sentences. The third target is to write to teach. This is your purpose for writing. I can write to teach about a topic by giving facts about it. We remember that nonfiction books are full of facts. The last target is the drafting job. You are going to show how you can use a computer or tablet to publish your writing. We know the Right Steps has 6 steps. You have already finished 3 of your steps. You have brainstormed and picked your animal. You have done your planning, which is using your web and your research tools. And you are ready to start drafting. So your work is to make sure that you have your web finished and to start drafting on the Google Docs. Here you can see that my web is finished. I have researched in websites. I have read books from the library. I have even read books from Raz Kids. I have learned all about earthworms by asking my questions. I asked, what characteristics does my animal have? And I found out that my animal has no bones, no fur, feathers, or scales, lays eggs, it's slimy, and it actually has little hairs. And I found out those little hairs help it move through the soil. What is my animal's habitat? I found out that worms are found all over the world, but you will not find any worms in deserts or where there is frozen ground year-round. So if the ground is always hard and frozen, no worms live there. I asked, how does my animal communicate? And I found out my worms do not make any noise. They do not have any ears, but they use their sense of touch and taste to communicate with each other and to sense if there's danger or which way to go. I also asked the question about what food does my animal eat? And I found out that my earthworms eat food scraps, dead leaves, and dead plants. The information on my web is going to be used in my draft. So I will get all of my sentences from this web. This is what the nonfiction text template looks like. A template is a place where you can fill in your information. I'm going to just scroll through the template really quick so you can see the information you're going to be drafting about this week. This is your title page. Then I have made a table of contents for everyone. You'll see that the table of contents, which is a text feature, has an introduction for page 1. Chapter 1 is characteristics. That will be found on page 2. Chapter 2 is habitat and home. You'll find that on page 3. Chapter 3 has communication. You'll find that on page 4. And chapter 4 is all about food, and you find that on page 5. You do not need to do any typing on the table of contents. But when you get to your chapters like characteristics, habitat and home, communication, and food, you will see that I have put headings at the top, so you do not have to type your headings, but you will click on the page until you get the small text box. The big text box will not work for you, so you have to click again until you get your small text box. Then you will be able to type your ideas from your web. So I'm going to go back up and peek at my web. Habitat. The notes I took and the information I found says found all over the world, no deserts, no frozen ground, year round. So I'm going to go back to my habitat and home, and I'm going to think of a sentence about habitat and home from what I learned. All right, I found out that worms live all over the world. I'm going to put a period because that's the end of my idea. I also found out that deserts are never a home for worms. I also found out that worms cannot live where the ground is frozen. And what was the other idea? If I can't remember, I can look at my web again. Okay, I think I have my 3 ideas. They live all over the world, they do not live in deserts, and they cannot live where the ground is frozen. Okay, so I wrote down my ideas for habitat and home. That means I can move on to communication, and I can click, get my text box, and I can start typing about worm communication here. And when I get done with my sentence, I can go on to food, and I can find my text box, look up food on my web, food scraps, dead plants, and leaves, and then I'll have to come back down here and make my sentences. So when you open up your assignment, you will see that you will have your web, and then you'll have your template. I forgot to show you the title page. When you get to the title page, you find your text box, and you can type in your title, and when we go to publish, we can make these things bigger, we can change the print. But as long as you're going in and you're using your template, then of course when you get to Hot Seat, we'll do some fixing and make the title page really fancy for you. And you can see I've also left room for you to make illustrations for when your book is published. But the only thing I want you to worry about today is make sure that you are finished with your web and then you are ready for that drafting. So a finished web, and then you may move on to your template, filling in your title page. You don't have to do any writing on the table of contents because it's already finished. Type information about your characteristics. Type information about habitat and home under the heading of habitat and home. Here's the heading communication, and you will type your sentences for communication and for food. You can work on this at home on your own, and Mrs. Grimmer will also work with you during our writer workshop times.